Theme prayer. Sword of Christ, sanctify me.
Body of Christ, save me. Blood of Christ, inebriate me. Water from the side of Christ, wash me. Passion of Christ, strengthen me. O Lord Jesus, hear me. Within your wounds, hide me. Permit me not to be separated from you. From the wicked foe, defend me. At the hour of my death, call me. And bid me come to you. That with your saints I may praise you forever and ever. Amen.
Okay, so let's just put them on the table or something. Let's see here. I don't think this will come forward. We started with the words of consecration, which is kind of the overarching text. And the last night we talked about that at the time of Jesus, the people and Jesus himself looked forward to a new Exodus. Some people did look for messiahs. We heard in Sunday's reading it would be more like a political liberator. But that was not the overarching. The prophets spoke about a new Exodus, a new Savior was going to be like a new Moses who would bring a new Exodus, meaning he would be God's intervention in the people's history to definitively liberate them. He would make a new covenant. And we talked about the covenant, a new marriage, if you like, a new family with them. Okay? And he would open up the possibility of a new promise. Not totally in terms of place of milk and honey, but a place that would be the New Jerusalem, the new city to which all the nations would come. So, all right. So if we talk about a new Exodus, well, then if Jesus saw himself as fulfilling a new Exodus, then what was the Passover? The Passover was essential to Exodus. So what was going to be the new Passover? Okay, so that's what we're going to make our main theme tonight. We're going to go to Passover. So I want to, here's our overarching thing. We're looking at three keys. So tonight we're going to look at Passover. Next night we look at the manna. And then after that we'll look at probably the least familiar to all of us, which is the bread of presence. And then after that we'll look a little bit at the Eucharist in Corinth, and we'll look at the cups. So that situates us. Alright, so now, tonight we're going to focus on the first key, Passover, new Passover. I want to do this in three stages. So the original Passover, right? What was the Passover like at the time of Jesus, which was a few thousand years later, right? And then the Last Supper. And how was it a Passover, and how was it different from a Passover, right? So that's kind of our three things. So, key text for this is in Exodus chapter 12. As all good Bible studies who are Catholic, they brought their Bible.
Yes.
So, Exodus 12. It has two accounts. Okay? Verse 1 and following. By the way, if you see on one of my slides, verse 1, FF, that's shorthand for following. Verse 1 and following, that's the shorthand for it. Okay. So, actually, let's look at the quote. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month shall stand at the head of your calendar, first month of the year." Okay? I think the word in Hebrew is Nisan. Not for cars, but tell the whole community of Israel, on the 10th of this month, every one of your families must procure for itself a lamb, one apiece for each household. If a family is too small for a whole lamb, it shall join with the nearest household in procuring one, and shall share in the lamb in proportion to the number of persons who partake of it. The lamb must be a year old and without blemish. You may take it from either the sheep or the goats. You shall keep it until the 14th day, and then, with the whole assembly of Israel present, it shall be slaughtered during the evening twilight. They shall take some of its blood and apply it to the 2 doorposts and the lintel of every house in which they partake of the lamb. That same night they shall eat its roasted flesh with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. It shall not be eaten raw or boiled, but roasted whole, with its head and shanks and inner organs. None of it must be kept beyond the next morning. Whatever is left over in the morning shall be burned up. This is how you are to eat it, with your loins girt, sandals on your feet, your staff in hand. So this is ready for the journey. For on that same night I will go through Egypt, striking down every firstborn of the land, both man and beast, and executing judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I, the Lord, that the blood will mark the houses where you are. Seeing the blood, I will pass over you. Hence the name, Passover. Thus, when I strike the land of Egypt, no destructive blow will come upon you. This day shall be a memorial feast for you, which all your generations shall celebrate with pilgrimage to the Lord as a perpetual institution. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. So there's a second account then, if you go over to 21. Verse 21. Moses called all the elders of Israel and said to them, go and procure lambs for your families, and slaughter them as Passover victims. Then take a bunch of hyssop, and dipping it in the blood that is in the basin, sprinkle the lintel and the 2 doorposts with this blood. But none of you shall go outdoors till morning. For the Lord will go by, striking down the Egyptians, seeing the blood of the lintel and the 2 doorposts. The Lord will pass over that door and not let the destroyer come into your houses and strike you down. You shall observe this as a perpetual ordinance for yourselves and your descendants. Thus you must also observe this rite when you have entered the land which the Lord will give you as he promised. When your children ask you, what does this rite of yours mean? You shall reply, this is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he struck down the Egyptians. And the people bowed down and worshipped. Okay? So, let's take apart the elements of the Passover, the original Passover. Number 1, choose an unblemished male. Right? So it was not to be some dying lamb that you couldn't sell or anything, or one with a broken leg or something like that. You couldn't give the Lord the leftovers. You couldn't give the Lord what was basically useless. Which of course is what lots of times happens. I can't tell you that I asked you work at an orphanage in Tijuana for a number of years. We used to bring stuff down. And the number of people will call up and say, I have this refrigerator, it's not working, but there's probably some handyman around the church that will fix it, You've seen this, right? This is church as garbage disposal. It is as feeling good about giving away what you can't use. Right? So there's strict prohibition. You must give of the best. In the prime, year-old lamb is in its prime. It's the best time for eating it. Farmer. Unblemished. Right? Now, on that, by the way, in the instructions, we're not going to go down through all these instructions, but they were ordered not to break any of its bones when it was sacrificed. So, anybody remember how that's echoed in the Gospels?
Jesus on the cross.
Jesus on the cross. Okay, in the prime of life, unblemished male, no bone broken. They were to sacrifice the lamb. Okay, this is the Passover sacrifice you were to tell your children. So now, what do we mean by sacrifice? It's like when we had a mission, you know those parish missions? We had one in our parish church when I was a boy, and they made it an offering, you know. So passed the basket, and one of my neighbours, meaning to put $1 in a pound at that time it was, he put in a £20 note, you know, that was a lot of money. And he went, he thought about getting it back, no, he says, I'll give it to God and never go ahead. So he's giving it to God. Yes. Anybody else, what is sacrifice about?
Giving up something good.
Yeah, well that's obviously the popular notion. The popular understanding is to sacrifice is to give up something. My mother would say, and all the sacrifices I've made for you guys. Right? Did none of your mother say that? All the sacrifices, you know, you give up something valuable, right? Alright. Aha, ceremonial, yes, it's ceremonial. So sacrifice has to do with ceremony. Remember we talked about the covenant the last time? We talked about it being ratified. There's a ceremony that seals it, that ratifies it. Okay? Sacrifice was about the ceremonial ratification of the relationship with God. It was the way of relating to God. So I'm going to interrupt our things here. I'm going to move to a slide, if I can manage it here, on sacrifice. And I'll come back to it, please. Okay. So, sacrifice, the word means to make holy. Sacrum facie. You know that what was an F in Latin frequently became an H in Spanish. So, facere, hacer. Sacrum, so it's sagrado. Right? To make holy is the literal meaning. Right? So, there were all kinds of sacrifices, and I'm going to maybe simplify a bit, but we have to, simplify, and group them into three main types of sacrifice. Okay? This didn't, part of this didn't come out. You can go. So, the first type is known as a Holocaust. What is a Holocaust? Elie, a burned offering. Elie Wiesel applied this term to the Second World War, the extermination of the Jews, and regressed it, because it is not really the Jewish understanding. So, a burnt offering. Why would an offering be burned? Can't be used for anything else. Yes, it's put beyond human use. Why else? It's way to put it outside human use. Yes. And the smoke goes up to heaven where God is considered. So the accent on Holocaust is gift. So you can see why Wiesel regretted having applied it to the Second World War, because the biblical understanding is of a gift given to God, which is the very opposite to what happened in the concentration camps, right? So, be that as it may, when we hear Holocaust, we can't help but hear the extermination, the concentration camps and everything, but on the biblical perspective. Now, so, we're talking about the relationship with God. How do you relate to God? So, how do you relate to anybody? Will you talk to them? We call that prayer. But if you have a friend, or a lover, or a husband, or a wife, or whatever, how else do you relate to them? You communicate, but how else? So it comes to their birthday or Christmas and you just communicate, are you in good shape? You just say happy birthday. Is that going to be enough? It ain't going to work. It ain't going to cut it. What does it have to be?
Yes.
It has to be a gift. Right. Okay, so how do you give a gift to God? You can give a gift. You can bring it personally to your friend or your husband or your wife. You could have it mailed. You could have a special delivery. But how do you do it to God? You can't sort of wrap it up to God, heaven, and give it to you again. You know? So, how do you do it? Well, the way to do it was Holocaust, to burn it. For the reasons we just said. The smoke going up to where God was, and you put it outside your use. When you give a gift, you give something for the other person and their use, not for your use, right? Okay. So come ahead, Patrick. There are places down here. So that's the first general term. Okay. Now, how else do you express friendship or love with somebody? You call them for dinner. That's right. You take them to a nice restaurant or something. You eat sushi or something like that, right? Or you what? Or you cook. Yes. So, you eat and drink with them. Right? So how do you eat and drink with God? Well, we'll see. Okay? And thirdly, the third category of sacrifice is blood sacrifice. What do you think blood sacrifice is about? If Holocaust is about gift, communion sacrifice is about eating and drinking with God, what do you think that blood sacrifice is about? So we look up that reference. We roll up the right line. Look up the reference, Leviticus 17. This one. Leviticus 17. Hey, yes, somebody read it. Okay. Can you, yeah, you want it? 7? Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Oh, you want me to read it?
Please do.
Since the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you to make atonement on the altar for yourselves, because it is in the blood, because it is the blood that is life that makes atonement. That is why I have told you Israelites, no one among you, not even a resident alien, may consume blood.
Okay. So, blood is life. They observed on the battlefield, when somebody got ran through by a sword, they bled, and the life went out of them with the blood. So they took it that the life principle was the blood. Okay? So blood was life. Who was the master of life? God was the master of life. God was the giver of life. So, hence the prohibition against consuming blood. Blood belongs to God. You shall not drink the blood. Nobody. Right? So that, of course, Jehovah's Witnesses will always continue to practice that. Well, they won't take blood transfusions, or there have been court cases about that, and so forth. So that's the root of the prohibition against consuming blood. And some of the dietary laws have to do with that as well. The kosher food, right? So now, in this context though, what do you think blood has to do with? It has to do with reconciliation, expiation. So, gift and communication are about strengthening the relationship. But what do you do when the relationship breaks? How do you repair it? Atonement. It's a good night for us to speak of this. It is Yom Kippur tonight. It's the Day of Atonement. What happened on the Day of Atonement? One day a year, the high priest went into the Holy of Holies once a year. It was on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and there offered the blood sacrifice. Why? Because if the relationship is broken, it's dead, right? How do you bring it to life? You bring it to life by blood. Because blood is life. Now you will, by the way, you will find echoes of this in contemporary world. You know, I was downtown for years, we used to work with gang members and all that. Some of the gang members would make blood covenants with one. They would cut their arms and mix the blood. They would be carnales, they would be one blood, right? One flesh. So you get echoes of it. So blood was about reconciliation, forgiveness at one moment. Atonement is at one, making what is broken one again, bringing what is dead to life again. Okay, now, there is a subcategory which on the slide that didn't get into this, the correct slide, was called a thank offering. A thank offering. And Passover was especially talked about as a thank offering. A thank offering for deliverance from death by God, which is what Passover was, wasn't it? It was in the first and foremost, it was a deliverance from death, wasn't it? How? The angel of death would come and pass over those doors. So it was the blood was the deliverance from death. Keep this all language on in your minds, right? You can see the echoes of where we're going with this, with the Last Supper, right? So the thank offering. Last week somebody asked the question, what does Eucharist mean? Eucharist means thanksgiving. So it picks up on this language, and I'm sorry we didn't get that. Maybe next week, yeah. So, Passover was known as a thank offering. Eucharist is the Greek word for thanksgiving. Right? Spanish is gracias, Italian is gracia, French is merci. In Greek, it's Eucharist. What is the verb form, right? Okay. What does Eucharist mean? Eu is what? Like euphoria, eulogy, euthanasia. What are all those? What does that eu mean? Good. Well or good? Good. A eulogy is to speak well. Speak well of somebody, right? Euthanasia is supposed to be a good death. Euphoria, good feeling, right? So, you is good. Now, what about the other part of the word, Eucharistic, charis? Can you hear the word there? Charism, right? Hear the word charism. Charism is the Greek word for gift, or charis for grace. These are all the same thing, right? Grace, gift. Grace is God's gift to us. Right? So, it's a good gift. Now, when I was a boy, we had an aunt, my dad's sister. Her name was Lizzie. And Lizzie lived about 3 miles away. So every once in a while, she'd come down on Sunday afternoon. She had to cycle, because there were no cars. So she had to cycle. But we loved to see Lizzie coming, because on the parcel carrier at the back of her bike, there would always be a box of chocolates. Lizzie never came empty-handed. Because she cycled by Holly's shop, and she always got good candy. Now, when she gave the box of chocolates, what do you think our mother made us do? Say thank you. What else?
Share.
Yeah, with whom? Okay, but before that, was this in any other culture? We had to open the box, and before we ate anything, we had to offer her the chocolate. So you gave thanks with the gift that she had given. Did any other culture have that?
Yes.
Yep, yes. So that was the, and woe betide you, it would be a blood sacrifice if you forgot. That was seen as an insult, right? So that's kind of what we do with Mass. We give God thanks with God's gift to us. Jesus is God's gift to us, and we give God thanks with Jesus. You see? That's what Eucharist is. But it falls within, it's like, we'll call it sort of a subcategory here, and it was particularly applied to thanksgiving. And of course, again, the particular thanksgiving is for deliverance from death. Jesus delivers us from death, the death of sin, real death, the resurrection. What about that? We're good? So, let's see. Okay. Now, so if sacrifice is a ceremonial communication with God, who offered the sacrifice? High priest. Anybody else? So, I think I had this, I'm sure I was my own list. There's a little history. Priests often do, right? Priests often sacrifice. So, the first stage we're going to take on this little tour through priesthood, okay, is Genesis. Anybody find it for me or read it for me? Genesis 14, 17 to 20. A curious episode. Genesis 14, I beg your pardon, chapter 14, verses 17 to 20. Julie, you want to read the first 20 from verse?
When Abram returned from his victory over Cunnane
Yeah, that guy.
and the kings who were allied with him, the king of Sodom went out to greet him in the valley of Shavah, that is the king's valley. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and being a priest of God Most High, he blessed Abram with these words. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your foes into your hands.
Okay.
And then Abram gave him a
Yeah, okay. So this is the first mention of a priest, and he's this enigmatic figure who is never mentioned before or afterwards, the person himself. So the first thing to note is the name, Melchizedek. Zedek is the word for justice or righteousness. So he's the king of righteousness. And we're told he's also the king of Salem. Salem is a variation on Shalom. Shalom means peace. So this is a king of justice and peace. Now the word Salem or Shalom is in the name of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, right? So some would think that he was the king of Jerusalem. So this figure of righteousness, of justice and peace comes out to praise God for having delivered Abraham. And he brings an offering of, not of lambs now, of bread and wine. Bread and wine. So we look at this the next day, but bread and wine, this is the beginning of it, has a trajectory. There's bread and wine at Passover too, right? Okay. And, of course, obviously, the Last Supper. And now, so Melchizedek is a priest. Can anybody find me the next one? Exodus 2:3 or 19:6. Well, I'll get 19:6. I haven't read it. So, in Exodus 19:6, God is speaking to the people through Moses. And he's saying, "You shall be to me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation." This is what you must tell the elders of the people. So here now, all are priests. This is before they come to the promised land. All are priests. So when we looked at Exodus 12 and the offering of the sacrifice of the lamb, who was to do it? Not priest then, was it? It was the father, the family. The head of the family, right? The head of the family was a priest. Okay, so in that sense, all are priests here. But then, in Joshua 13, Moses comes down from the mountain, and what are they doing? They're worshipping the golden calf. And God punishes them, except for one tribe, which was the tribe of Levi. So when they come into the promised land, it's divided 11 ways. The Levites are to be supported because they were the one tribe who remained faithful. And so they are to be the priests. And hereditary priesthood, okay, the tribe of Levi, and they're to be supported by the people in doing that. Now, was Jesus from the tribe of Levi?
No.
Wasn't. So when the New Testament talks about Jesus as a priest, how does it speak about him? You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. Okay? Jesus is spoken of as a priest following Melchizedek, who is not from a family of priests, who came offering the gift of bread and wine. Are we okay? Now, in Hebrews, Hebrews 11, 9, 11 to 15. you should read all these chapters in Hebrews, but we won't take the time to read them all here, please. But so what Hebrews does is it sort of riffs on the Old Testament priesthood, applying it to Jesus, especially the high priest. So I said 9, 11, 15, didn't I? 9, 11. So, but when Christ came as high priest of the good things that have come to be, passing through the greater and more perfect tabernacle, or temple, not made by hands, that is not belonging to this creation, he entered once and for all into the sanctuary. So no more sacrifice. Jesus puts an end to sacrifice. It's once and for all is sacrifice. So it doesn't have to be done yearly on Yom Kippur. Not with the blood of goats or calves or lambs, but whose blood? His own blood. He's the Lamb. Thus obtaining eternal redemption. For if the blood of goats and bulls and the sprinkling of a heifer's ashes can sanctify those who are defiled so that their flesh is cleansed, how much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself unblemished to God, cleanse our consciences from dead works to worship the living God. This reason he is mediator of a new covenant, since a debt has taken place for deliverance from transgressions under the first covenant. Those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance. I encourage you to read those chapters from Hebrews. Okay, so Jesus then is the new high priest who finishes all with all blood sacrifice. The last one I want to look at is 1 Peter. 1 Peter 2:9, where he says, but you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of his own, so that you may announce the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were no people, but now you are God's people. You had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. So now we're back to where before Exodus, where we're all priests. You are a royal priesthood. And what is the sacrifice that we offer if we're a royal priesthood? We're not going to the temple to bring lambs. Well, it's a sacrifice, firstly, of a life well lived. Secondly, of course, we all offer with Jesus the sacrifice of the Mass. So it's a prayer and service. Now, incidentally, this might be a bit controversial, but in the New Testament understanding, priesthood in the sense of the temple priesthood finishes. So when they sought out terms for the leaders, they did not use priestly terms. So the word they used was presbyter, which is an elder, and overseer, which is bishop. You can see that more clearly in Spanish, in the Romance languages, episcopos. Epi, over, scopos, to scope, see, to look over, to oversee. So they deliberately went for non-religious terms. So you could argue that, calling God a priest is not really good. I guess you could take the other argument that, we're still offering Jesus offering, we're made part of Jesus' sacrifice. and we have a role in that. But it is not, I think, a insignificant point. Okay, so that's a little thing on priesthood. So let's go back for a minute to sacrifice. Okay, so let's take a look at Exodus 24. This is one of the chapters I asked you to read. This is a key chapter. Exodus, we're going to go to Exodus 24. Moses has given them the law, they have accepted it. When Moses, this is verse 3, when Moses came to the people and related all the words and ordinances of the Lord, they all answered with one voice, we will do everything that the Lord has told us. So, what's that? It's a covenant, right? They have said, I do to one another in this marriage, right? They accept the covenant. So Moses then wrote down all the words of the Lord, and rising early the next day, he erected at the foot of the mountain an altar and 12 pillars. So what's an altar for? Sacrifice. Sacrifice takes place on an altar. 12 pillars? For the whole people. For the 12 tribes of Israel. Then having sent certain young men, sent out the youth group here, of the Israelites to offer holocausts and sacrifice young bulls as peace offerings to the Lord. Okay. Then Moses took half of the blood and put it in large bowls. The other half he splashed on the altar. Messy affair. But you see what it's doing? It's covering God and then in the same blood. It's a blood sacrifice. Then he took the book of the covenant and he read it aloud to the people, who answered, all that the Lord has said we will heed and do. And the Lord, now they have accepted the covenant, now he throws the blood on them. So they're bonded into this one blood, in this covenant. Then he took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, saying, this is the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you in accordance with all these words of his. Moses then went up with Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 elders of Israel, and they beheld the God of Israel. Under his feet there appeared to be sapphire tower, as clear as the sky itself. Yet he did not smite these chosen Israelites. And after gazing on God, they could eat and drink. They ate and drank with God. That's the communion sacrifice. So in this thing we have the covenant ceremonially ratified using all three of these types of sacrifice. The Holocaust, the young bulls, the eating and drinking with God, done by the elders, and the blood. Okay, so that was a bit of a detour. Let's go back to okay. Choose an own commission, sacrifice the lamb. So I will put that detour on sacrifice and priesthood. Sprinkle the blood on the doorpost using hyssop. Why? Because blood stains wood. So the angel would see the stained wood and pass over. Where do the hyssop, the blood, and the wood come together again? On the cross. The gospel is specific that they took hyssop and offered him wine, and his blood was on the wood. Now, very important point, brothers and sisters, the sacrifice does not end with the killing of the victim. It ends with the eating. You must eat the lamb. It's not about the killing only, it's about the eating. And lastly, you shall keep this as a day of remembrance, as a memorial. So this memorial was a way for them in future generations to make present God's liberating action. It was a way for them to participate in the Exodus. So, we always think of memory as turning our minds back to a past event. It's Thanksgiving and the family come around and you take out your iPad and you scroll through the pictures. Or you take down the family album. People still have those, right? And you say, oh, you look good in that dress. Oh, yeah, I was terrible then, you know. Look how, you know. And so on. You know, you look like your auntie in that picture, right? So, you know, you go through a whole nostalgic memory thing. Right? But if you go to your favorite shrink because you're having problems and want help, what do they like to start asking you about? Your memories, right? So asking you about your past and your family and so on. Because psychologists know that things that happen in the past don't stay in the past. They can get set free from their moorings in that time and place and still be operative, active, here and now. Isn't that right? We all know this. Memory is not just about turning our minds back. Memory is how the past is operative now. You could argue we live out of the dominant memories in our lives. Parents are creators of memories. Right? And if the dominant memories are negative, of abandonment or betrayal, well then, you know, you're going to fear abandonment. If the dominant memories are of love and affection and mercy and care, well then you're going to be secure and solid in that. So we live out of, this is so that Israel would live out of the dominant memory that God freed them. That God heard their cry and set them free. And so Jesus would say this at the Last Supper, do this in memory of me. So that becomes our operative memory, our dominant memory. That's how the past, that once and for all event is present to us, and we participate in it. Right? Okay, you guys remember. Ooh. Time flies. Let's see. So now, let me just go through a little bit of this. So, that was the original Passover. What was Passover like at the time of Jesus? Well, some things were different. There was no sprinkling of blood on the doorposts. There was no need to, right? The drinking of cups was added, and we'll be returning to that thing. Now, at the time of Jesus, where did the Passover happen?
The temple.
In the temple in Jerusalem. The original Passover was in homes, right? It was in the temple in Jerusalem. That's a big shift. Okay? The sacrifice was offered by the priest, not the father of the family. And of course, the sacrifice, we will talk about sacrifice, I'm going to read that. That's just a reference to the sacrifice. Okay? And Exodus 12:27. 24, 29, 28. All right, let me just. Oh, that's a sacrifice. Sorry, it's another reference to sacrifice. So we want to go another one. Now, if it happened at the temple, and every family was supposed to go to Jerusalem, Josephus, who was a priest and wrote a history, not always reliable, he wrote it for kind of Roman audience, but Josephus claimed that there were 256,000 lambs slaughtered for Passover to accommodate 2.5 million people. So get your head around it. This was, so one thing about the temple sacrifice was that it was central to the agriculture. They say that 60% of the animals raised were for sacrifice. People really only ate meat at sacrifices. So, the pouring of the blood on the altar. So what happened was that they had like an assembly line, like in the old days, the fire brigade in my hometown, before the fancy fire trucks and all that, they had like a bunch of guys passing buckets of water along, So the high priest would slit the throat of the lamb, it would be poured into a basin would be passed around, and they dashed it against the altar. But can you imagine the blood from all these lambs? It must have been a very impressive sight. Rivers of blood. Now, here's something I was not aware of before I started preparing for this class. The crucifixion of the Passover lambs. And this is attested to as late as Justin Martyr in the 2nd century. I should probably read that. So, what they did was, they stuck a spit or a skewer from shoulder to shoulder so that they could hang the lamb and skin it. And they also put a skewer, a bit like if you've ever been to a Filipino house blessing, where they do with the pig, they put it in the spit, from the top to the bottom. So they were sacrificed in a crucified form. So of course Jesus would have seen that. Anybody would have seen it. The lamb which is roasted and dressed up in the form of a cross. For one spit is transfixed right through from the lower parts up to the head, and one across the back, to which are attached the legs of the lamb. That's Justin Martyr, who is a Christian saint and martyr, just a martyr. Yeah. So, and then there are Jewish references as well, which you don't know. So, okay. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So it was clearly well known as temple practice. And then, of course, it was seen as a participation, a memorial in the first Passover, as indicated by Exodus 12 that we looked at before. Okay? I found that intriguing, that the lambs were sacrificed in cruciform. Now, the Last Supper then. So we've looked at the original Passover. We've looked at how it had developed at the time of Jesus. And now let's look at the Last Supper. So, it's clearly Passover. Matthew, Mark, and Luke, we don't need to look at those references. You all know that, don't you? You've heard it so many times. The night before the night of Passover. Where do you want me to prepare the Passover for you? Right? So it was celebrated on Passover night before the new Exodus. It's celebrated in Jerusalem. So they went up to Jerusalem to celebrate. At night, as in the evening, you're supposed to celebrate after sundown. Yeah. There's wine. Okay. They didn't drink wine every day they weren't Italians. So they didn't drink wine with every meal. Water was the most common drink. They drank wine as only at special ones, and Passover was one. Okay? So, Jesus, just like at the Passover, the son, usually the younger son, asked the father, why do we eat unleavened bread? Why do we eat bitter herbs? And the father, have you ever been to Passover?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the father answered, because on this night our forefathers ate the unleavened bread or bitter herbs. It reminded us of our slavery, of our harsh reality in Egypt, right? So Jesus takes that role of explaining to the disciples about the bread, doesn't he? Yeah. Now, at the end of the Passover, they sang a great hymn of praise called the Great Hallel, the Great Praise. Hallel means hallelujah, praise the Lord, right? So the great hymn of praise is Great Hallel. So you see in the Gospels, it talks about after they had sang the hymn, they went out and crossed the Kidron Valley to Gethsemane, the Mount of Olives, right? So that's all in compliance with the Passover. And then Jesus says to them, do this in remembrance of me, do it as a memorial of me, whatever word you want to use there, the same as the old Passover. Okay. Now, but there are some differences. It is not celebrated in a family here, is it? Jesus celebrates it with his 12 apostles. So we're talking a new family, a new Israel. Aren't we? This is a departure. He looks at, Jesus speaks not as the Passover spoke of Exodus and the old Sinai covenant. Jesus speaks now of a new covenant that will be established in Israel. Right? So he has a different focus, a future focus, not just a past focus. We're talking about the pouring out of the blood. The river of blood from 250,000 lambs. Now Jesus talks about this is the blood that is poured out for you. The biggest difference of all is in the Last Supper, there's no talk of the lamb. The lamb is the center of Passover. It's all about the bread and wine, isn't it? There's no talk of lamb. This is a big departure. Why? Why? Jesus is the lamb. Jesus is going to be the lamb of the new covenant. So John now, this is John, just put it back, John is a departure from Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Matthew, Mark, and Luke have the Last Supper on Passover. John does not. John has Jesus die at 3 in the afternoon. Why? Because that's the hour the lambs are sacrificed. So Jesus is, if you like, he presents Calvary as Passover. And Jesus is the lamb who is slaughtered at 3. Like the lamb's one. Are we good? Is all that something that clear enough for you? We're okay with all that? All right. So, the new Passover. inaugurating the new exodus. Oh yes, and of course, lastly, the Passover, the lamb is not, it's not all about the killing, it's about the eating, right? So Jesus is take and eat, drink. Despite the Old Testament prohibition against drinking blood and so on. So how is the lamb to be eaten? So that brings us to our next key for understanding the Eucharist, which is the manna. Jesus is the new man. There was one other question from last week.
About the blessing.
There was the thanksgiving, the name, Eucharist. Explain that. So explain that. What was the other?
No, I've asked about, you know how you said we don't get
The blessing verbalized.
because we're singing?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'll come to that, boss. Say something about that.
Okay.
Later on. Okay, can we go in groups 3 or 4? 3 or 4 is better. And just maybe take these questions. Is there any particular part of the Mass that speaks to you? Okay, then you know what? And then any insight you get from tonight. Because this is a way to help one another to remember. And then any questions. Is that all right? Can we do just chairs move so you can make little circles? And we'll do about we'll just do about maybe 8 or 9 minutes. Okay? Any insights? Anything you take away from tonight? Any insights?
Just the connection, the parallels of the old and the new. You know, like the blood on the door, the blood on the cross. I mean, it's I like it.
Good. Okay. Anybody else? Bob?
I was surprised that I thought it was really interesting the name of the king. Is the Bible full of things like that?
Yes.
The names that have
The justice and peace. Melchizedek, Zedek is righteous. You can translate it justice or righteousness, and then king of Salem, Shalom. So it's a specific link to justice and peace. Anything else that anybody else? Anything else any other insights from tonight, or things that struck you, or did we just leave you utterly confused?
Our group was talking about how we love that you can go to Mass anywhere, and because the way the Mass have done the parts, it can be in a different language, but you still know, and you can be part of it and really enjoy that.
Oh, yes, certainly.
The Passover, the time when Jesus was in the temple and not at the home.
Yeah.
I didn't have any idea about the huge number of lambs and all this.
It's incredible. Now, of course, the lambs were killed in the temple, but they were not eaten. They were eaten in families. They were eaten in the family. You know what I mean? Like they went in, you didn't have a quarter of a million eating the lamb and cooking the lambs on barbecues around the temple. They took away the lamb. They were killed sacrificed by the priest, but then the priest took a cut, by the way, and then and that's specified in Leviticus. You know, the part that was given to the priest, and then the rest went to the family, and they took it away and cooked it and ate it.
So do they clean it up, or does it just stay there? It must have smelled good.
There must have been, I mean, the honey must have been drained away and drained.
Power wash?
But it was a lot of lambs and a lot of people and a lot of, you can imagine it was a big thing. Now, you know, maybe were there 2.5 million people? I don't know. It sounds a lot to me for Israel at that time. Josephus may have been exaggerating a little bit, but you know, somewhere along those lines. Somewhere along there. Okay, anything else? Yes, Robert.
Yeah, just a real brief comment. And I had a brief new understanding. I've been at this church for 1 year, but this helped me go deeper. I felt a deeper understanding, which I appreciate.
All right, any questions now? We'll get to yours, from you. Any other questions come up?
When Jesus and the apostles were having their last supper, would that have been after all the lambs had been?
Yeah, so Evan here asked a question that occurred to me. Was there a lamb at the Last Supper? And one has to assume no, really, because there's no reference to a lamb or eating the lamb. And there's only reference to the bread and wine. Now, of course, the bread and wine at Passover. Unleavened bread, any Passover is bread and wine, 4 cups. But there is no, I guess I had assumed there was a lamb. But there is no reference in any of the Gospels to a lamb. So you would have to assume that there was not. We're thinking that. You know what I mean?
So when he tells his apostles to prepare the Passover for them, then
He does, but he doesn't mention lamb. Now you would think prepare Passover would include lamb. Yeah, but still there's no reference to it.
The Mass during communion, what is it? I don't remember the words, but I thought it was like at the end of the dinner, it was when
When
Jesus...
supper was over, when supper was over, he took the cup. So that, we'll talk about that, we're 3 weeks away from that. We'll talk about that cup. There's something about that, it was significantly the cup after supper. But are we to imply, I think it's an open question now. Are we to imply that there was, that the bread and the wine and everything wasn't enough supper, that have to have had some meat, that have had a lamb? I don't know. I guess I spent most of my life assuming there was. But if you just take the text, there's no reference to a lamb. And the Last Supper, while it was a Passover, as I just pointed out, there were really big differences. It wasn't conducted in family. So there are significant differences as well. So, I think you can take it either way, but usually you stay with the text. The text does not mention a lamb, unless you, of course, when you want to prepare Passover, unless you take it as, well, you couldn't prepare Passover without having a lamb. Okay, anything else?
So you're going to cover later on, where it's consecration.
Yeah, we can do that. Very briefly though. Consecrate is like sacrifice. It's consagrar. It's the same word. Sacrifice. Sacrifice. It's to make holy. It's to make holy. It's to make holy. Basically that's it. Alright, any other question, anybody? Okay then, so thank you all very much. Next week, if you want to prepare, could you read John chapter 6? Gospel of John chapter 6. That's the most extensive. John does not have an institution of the Eucharist, the Last Supper, but he does have a lengthy treatment of the Last Supper, but in terms of the manna. And that's chapter 6. You heard it all summer in the Gospel readings, because in Mark's Gospel, it's being short, they insert John and mainly the 6th chapter. However, I encourage you to read it, just the whole chapter, before we meet next Tuesday. Okay? God bless you all, everybody.